War is inevitable and it's getting worse seemingly. Conflict consumed many of the headlines in 2025 and 2026 is proving to be just as eventful. So let's see what's on the 2026 conflict bingo card. The Russian invasion of Ukraine became bogged down into a war of attrition ever since 2023, but it seems that Russia is finally picking up the pace. Making many gains and having achieved several strategic wins in 2025, Ukraine has struggled to plug the leaks of Russian pushes across multiple sectors and enjoys successful counteroffensives when it can. However, in lieu of battlefield victories, Ukraine has opted to attempt to strangle Russia's economy by targeting their oil revenues. The extent of the pain inflicted by this indirect campaign on Russia is unclear. Perhaps in Russia itself the fuel crisis is less severe, but in occupied parts of Ukraine, including Crimea, the fuel shortages are indeed acute. Regardless, in terms of the situation on the ground, Russia continues pressing forward. We can expect continued thrusts by Russia in the Donetsk direction and secondary fronts in Zaporizhzhia and Kharkiv. A peace settlement, in my opinion, seems unlikely as both sides tend to over-exaggerate how close the other is to collapse. Ukraine struggles from manpower and desertion problems, while Russia may begin to struggle with economic concerns if Ukraine can continue its strikes. Neither side will run out of equipment or funding imminently, and so the war of attrition will continue. The situation in Myanmar since the junta came to power has been a disaster. In 2026, there is unlikely to be any resolution. The junta has lost vast swaths of the country to the various ethnic factions. The survival of the regime here has become a matter of strategic importance for China, who has now begun majorly backing the junta after previous hesitance. Recently, the junta held elections of its own largely written off as a sham from the onset. The junta is weakened, but for now the situation remains that they haven't been toppled, and I think that any collapse for the junta won't occur rapidly, if at all, not in 2026. The Sudanese civil war is another conflict in which I don't see an end in sight. The Sudanese government faces an enemy that, despite being genocidal maniacs, are well motivated and supplied. Despite being backed by most world governments, mainly Russia and Iran, Sudan has failed to capitalize on this to meaningful effect. Atrocities continue to be committed by both sides. With the RSF firmly entrenched in the Darfur region, it is unlikely they will be expelled from their current strongholds. I think that the Sudanese President Al-Burhan and his situation grow more tenuous as this conflict continues, and it is possible that he may be overthrown by his own military in the near future for failing to deliver victory. Here is where we begin to cross into the realm of speculation, but anyone with a brain could predict that Israel is almost certain to attack Iran once more this year. Rather than allow Iran, which was by many accounts devastated in the 12-day war in June, to recuperate its military capabilities, it is within the motivations of Israel to press now. The guise that Israel will use to mask its motivations may not be as believable, depending on how hard AIPAC hustles. AIPAC lost one of its greatest warriors last year, rest in peace Charlie Kirk. Anyways, Iran's nuclear program was allegedly devastated by US and Israeli strikes and targeted assassinations. However, it would be more than easy to claim that Iran is once more close to developing a bomb. After all, Iran has been close to having nukes for over 30 years now. Somehow, now would be an opportunistic time to strike Iran, as they are currently in the midst of mass unrest. It is possible that seeing this, Israel could be motivated to push regime change or at least instability, with US support possibly as well. Donald Trump has already insinuated intervention in Iran on the part of the protesters, and during a midterm year he may possibly feel the need for another war with Iran to bolster his party's support. Support for a war against Iran, especially one initiated by Israel, will be tepid among many Americans. In any case, even if we are purely discussing a war between Israel and Iran, it is unlikely Iran will emerge victorious this time either. Their SAM and missile networks have already been damaged by the previous war, though their ballistic missiles likely still remain a threat to Israel in a conflict. Iran may feel the need to exert all of its power it can muster this time, as a matter of survival, which could mean even larger missile salvos on Israel. Overall, the Iranian regime is not likely to fall. Even with intense military and domestic pressure, the country has survived worse 1 year into the revolution. Still, it will be a conflict that will push Israeli hegemony in the region post-Gaza and could severely cripple Iran. Now, let us mention briefly the elephant in the room. The key action, I feel, has already concluded: the capture of Maduro. Further strikes may occur. In fact, it is more than likely since Venezuela has not transitioned after Maduro. However, full invasion is too unlikely as it would be unpopular among Americans, and I don't think Trump would make the choice at the end of the day. This has been the 2026 conflict bingo card. Some places I neglected to mention for time's sake, but rest assured they will still be ongoing, namely Mexico, Yemen, the Congo, and the Sahel. What do you think will be on the 2026 conflict bingo card?